So now we're playing as Knuckles the Echidna. Never really liked him in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. I don't like how he climbs and glides so slowly. And it looked like he crouched when he landed on the ground from gliding there. Just like in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Every character has a melee attack, where you press B when they're standing on the ground. It's kind of pointless, especially if you're not aiming, because you can just jump into enemies anyways. But it fits Knuckles, because he's a punching guy. But the awkward thing about Knuckles' punch attack is, when Knuckles punches, he gets sent forwards. So if you're too close to an enemy, you'll go forwards into the enemy and get hit. That's really awkward. Ice Mountain Zone is a pretty fast level. Unfortunately, there's a lot of things about it that annoy me. I hate how sluggish you move in the snow. So it's a good thing that's not the entirety of the ground in the level that's covered with it, because you can barely even spin dash through it. I hate the ice blocks that you can't spin dash through. My biggest problem with Ice Mountain Zone is the water areas. And I especially don't like when you're standing on a moving platform and you have no choice but to get hit by the enemy that launches out of the hole in the wall at you. Oh, these things. These things suck. The special stages in this game are ridiculous. Where did he get the snowboard? The problem with these special stages is that it's impossible, it's incredibly unintuitive to tell where you have to position yourself on the camera to get the rings. There's so many times where I could have sworn that I was in the right position to collect the rings, but for some reason I just wasn't collecting them. Am I too close to the edge of the screen? Am I not close enough? If they did it on the 3DS with the 3D effect, it might have worked. But here, it just constantly feels like you're being cheated out of rings when you should have gotten them. When you get to these yellow circles, apparently you're supposed to know that you have to do tricks there by pressing the A button. But how are you supposed to know that? It's not very intuitive that you have to do tricks there. You do tricks and you get a whole bunch of rings. But yeah, Sonic Advance can be considered to be the last game in an era. Because this is the last game until a while later in the series to have plenty of recurring elements from the series. Signposts and Sonic's spinning legs animation weren't brought back until Sonic 4. And Yellow Springs weren't brought back until Generations. That's a dickishly placed enemy. And the animal capsules, aside from being in a minigame in Advance 3, they didn't appear again until Sonic 4. It's kind of weird to think of a 2D Sonic game without animal capsules in it. And isn't it great that you can take advantage of Knuckles' climbing ability to climb up to higher routes and, oh, never mind. It doesn't really feel like there's as much of a reason to play as Knuckles most of the time. Because in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, there were special Knuckles routes that only Knuckles could take because he could climb. And routes that he would go through because he would walk into boulders and his face would smash them apart somehow. In this game, Knuckles kind of goes through the same routes as Sonic. And he seems to have the same jumping height. Oh yeah, that's another thing that's unique about Knuckles. And it's the entire reason for why I chose to play as him in this particular zone. Knuckles can actually swim on the surface of the water in this game. Which is really good, because it really helps you cheese a certain really annoying boss that's coming up. Oh great, more cheaply placed spikes, wonderful. The animals you free from badniks in this game are directly based on the ones from the adventure games. There are a few classic animals in the game though, like the Flicky, for example. The few classic animals that you see are seen alongside new ones in the Good Ending. And such a massive row of spikes, like, Dimps, calm down on the spikes. It makes sense that Knuckles can swim the surface of the water, because he could swim in the adventure games. Or at least Adventure 2 anyways. But it's just annoying how he doesn't swim throughout the entirety of the water, he only swims on the very surface of it. So it's like they're arbitrarily limiting his swimming ability. They're trying to have it both ways. I love the theme of Act 1. also like the theme of Act 2. I like how cheerful it is. Like, the themes of Act 1 and Act 2 are pretty different from each other, but they have a different feeling to them, and so it makes it feel like both are legitimately good. I think the soundtrack of this game in general is fantastic. Like the theme of Casino Paradise Act 1, I think it's pretty nice. I like the piano in it, and it sounds so suited to a casino, with the jazz trumpets and stuff. I usually play the game with the soundtrack on. Like, I usually play the game without having the volume on mute, because I just like the soundtrack so much. One of my favorite songs in the game is the theme of Secret Base Act 2. Like, usually Act 2 themes tend to not be as good, but the theme of Secret Base Act 2 is faster paced, and so it suits a Sonic game a little better, and it gets you all hyped up and excited. Like, the Secret Base theme is pretty suited to a secret base. Although I think White Acropolis in 06, while it was a badly designed level, it did the whole secret base with spotlights and stuff aesthetic better. While Secret Base just abandons it, not even a minute in. This boss is really annoying, but if you manage to get swimming on the surface with Knuckles, you can cheese it really easily. The biggest problem I have with this boss is that it's completely random where the icicles fall from the ceiling, and it's impossible to predict where they're going to show up. So it's very easy for the icicles to suddenly drop on you from above, especially if you're on the surface of the water. It kind of feels luck-based. Although, I like how the game gives you leeway in that, even though you aren't quite high enough to jump onto the top of the icicle, it's possible that you might somehow glitch onto the top of it anyways. But it's really easy to drown here. Like, you've gotta constantly rely on jumping above the surface of the water to get more air. Like, Sonic doesn't spontaneously grow the ability to breathe underwater like he does in the 8-bit version of Sonic 1's boss fight. Something you might have noticed at the beginning of the video is that this game actually has a stage select. This game has the best save system in all of the 2D Sonic games. Because what happens is that when you beat a level, you unlock it on the stage select forever. And it's not like Sonic 3 and Knuckles where you can only start from Act 1. You can start from Act 2 as well. Although it's annoying that you have to unlock all the stages on stage select with every single character. So, it really feels like each character has its own campaign, because it's not like you can, at any time you want, switch to a different character. Like, that's what I did here, but I was only able to do that because I'd already beaten most of the levels in the game with most of the characters. This level feels like a Mario and Sonic game crashed together in Mario 1. It doesn't really have that many loops or slopes. It's mainly just about platforming, and there isn't even really much bottomless pits in it. Those things are pretty annoying. Like, you gotta run on them for a little while to make them move upwards or make them move to the right. And it feels really slow because they spin around a lot faster than they actually move you. This level in general can be pretty annoying. Oh, look, jumping upstairs. I love jumping upstairs in Sonic games. It's so Sonic-like and completely not out of place at all. And I love how that spring to the right of me, you do not want to hit that spring. So why is it even there? What purpose does it have being in the level design? It's also very easy to not go to the right enough and land on that previous Pokeball, I guess. I mean, they kind of look like Pokeballs. I guess it's a Echidna thing. Like, the arena of the Bio-Lizard sort of has a Pokeball shape to it. And that's because Gerald based it off the Echidna architecture. I like the aesthetic of this place. This definitely looks a lot better aesthetically than the version of it that you see in Advance 2. And I kind of like the theme as well. Oh look, more jumping upstairs. This is the first 2D Sonic game to have grinding in it. Grinding works a little weird here because you can only grind by landing on the very top of the grind rail. And usually the grind rails are optional. In fact, they're always optional. And you're better off completely ignoring them because the grind rails are always set on places where great spike placement game. But anyways, usually the grind rails in this game are put on slopes where you would be moving a lot faster if you just rolled down them. I don't really like the way the goalposts look in this game because they're too black and gray. I prefer the way that the goalposts look in the classic Sonic games where you've got Sonic's face on it and he's all... Yeah, that's not awkward level design. Like that almost always happens to me. It's awkward when the game instantly sends you into a platforming section without giving you a proper transition. So you instantly start off the level spin dashing and you end up spin dashing to your death. That's a somersault. And this level has some annoying enemies in it. Like, the most annoying enemy in the level are, they're sort of like the flying caterpillar enemies of Angel Island Zone from Sonic 3 Knuckles. Only they're not electrified. But the annoying thing is that you have to jump into their heads to defeat them. If you jump into any other part of their body, you get hurt. And it's really frustrating because it's not like the other parts of their body are on fire or anything. It just doesn't make any sense that the only part of them that you can hurt is their head, and the rest of them just hurts you. Oh, great. More dickish spike placement. This part always makes me nervous. Like, I always feel like the spring's gonna send me to a bottomless pit. The only way that I could even see that pole was there was by looking up. It sure is a good thing that this game allows you to look up. After all, if they made a 2D Sonic game where you couldn't look up, that would be awful. But yeah, I kind of feel like this level is some awkward level design. But at least there's lots of fast parts. I feel like Advance 1 is still mostly a better game than Sonic 2 because it has a lot of fast parts to it. It's a lot faster paced. That's fun. See what I mean? It's very easy for the spring to kill you. Like, you gotta hold right on it. I hate that enemy. I really hated the Buzz Bombers in Sonic 2, and the Buzz Bombers here somehow feel like they're even worse. There's so many instances where the Buzz Bombers in the Advance series have gotten me hurt with their projectiles, especially in Advance 2. I just feel like it's really cheap to have a flying enemy that can launch projectiles at you. Mainly because since it's in the air, you have no way of attacking it other than by jumping into it. And if it shoots projectiles forwards at you, then you have no choice but to jump into its projectile. That is the cheapest placement of a spike in the entire game, because it's so easy to land on that spike when you're trying to go forwards from there, because you don't really have much horizontal momentum when you jump off that ball. It's a really good thing that there's invincibility to the left of it because it makes it more forgiving. It's very easy to land on that spike, but when you land on it you might be invincible, so it doesn't really matter. Just like in Sonic 3 Knuckles, Sonic has the Insta Shield. And a lot of people say that the Insta Shield isn't as good as it is in Sonic 3 Knuckles, but I get a lot of use out of it. Like, I always like to... No, I think that's more Advanced 2, when I usually use the Insta Shield to deal more damage to the boss. Just like in Sonic 3 Knuckles, the Insta Shield will extend your attack range And I don't know why people say that it gives you invincibility frames. I never really noticed that. Again, what is the purpose of having that boulder there? I'm going to the left here, but I really shouldn't be. It's the level design confusing you, because there was one point where I clearly crouched to look down, but it still didn't have the screen scroll far enough to tell me that I was supposed to go down. How are you supposed to know that the level is leading you downwards? I mean, it's not very intuitive because most of the time, you're not supposed to go... It makes it feel like you're being sent to a bottomless pit. It's so easy to go in circles in this level. This boss fight feels a lot more annoying than the version of it in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Like, it goes to a ball so fast. It's completely based on luck sometimes, whether you manage to attack him. It's so easy for you to get hurt when you're jumping into him when he's gliding. Like, it feels like the majority of the time that you jump into him when he's gliding, you get hurt, even though you very clearly did jump into the front of his gloves. This boss is called Mecha Knuckles, and it makes you wonder, if Eggman's able to make a robot that can perfectly disguise himself as a hero, why doesn't he do that to ruin that hero's reputation? Like, why doesn't he do that with Knuckles? And I think those missiles home into you as well. He's most vulnerable right as he lands on the ground. A nice touch that the game has is that depending on which character you're playing as, they'll have a different reaction for when they think they see Knuckles challenging them. Sonic is especially interesting because he gets surprised, then he immediately looks really antagonistic. Which makes sense because he's probably really sick of Knuckles trying to beat him up at this point. And Amy obliviously waves like she acts like a total ditz who doesn't even realize that Knuckles is challenging her to a fight. Tails obviously gets scared, and Knuckles just gets annoyed. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to show it off because I rage quit the level and beat it as Tails. And even then, I beat it with 0 lives left. So see you for the next part.